Alright, what's up, guys? So this is going to be my third VOD review that I'm doing. I put it in the beginning of the other two, but basically I'm just doing some free VOD reviews for the Competitive TFT Subreddit. Before I get started, there's going to be some links in the description box of my socials and my PayPal. I'm doing all this for free, but if anyone wants to support me, or if you feel like you got value from the content, not required at all, but feel free to either donate on there, or if you can just check out my socials, that also helps a lot. But yeah, so I'm just gonna get into this VOD review. This is a Challenger EU Northeast player. I think this game is actually on a Smurf. Yeah, okay, he's playing on a Grandmaster EU West account. So I'm gonna watch this game, see what he could do a little differently, if there's anything, or at least what I would do differently. Obviously, at this level of gameplay, there's different opinions on different decisions. There's a little less objectivity in certain things that happen, so there might be some stuff that I would have done differently that he might still stand by in this game, but we'll go ahead and watch it and see what we can get. Okay, so you start tier. On this patch, I am not too fond of tier start to go for. I am going to go ahead and mute this VOD, actually, just to avoid any like clashing of audio. Tier start isn't bad, obviously. It's pretty flexible. It's probably the third or fourth best starting item, but I do prefer to go for like rod or sword over that. I think rod, sword, and glove are best, but tier is definitely not bad. You do open double tier, so that's pretty nice. You get the blue buff. It's not the strongest early game item, but it does scale pretty well throughout the game, so I don't hate it. Pick up the list, which is nice, because if you get a list too, it could make good value of your blue buff. Um, this is probably one of the most minor things, but okay. Yeah, you take the Nami. I was gonna say I take the Nami there, because if your next shop is chosen Nami, it puts you one Nami closer to, because you could, with double tier opener, you could definitely go for double Luden's Nami. You get the Akali. That's actually really good. Really, really lucky to get that off of the blue buff start. Okay, you end up with a Pike pair as well. So right now your spot is pretty good. Yeah, unfortunately you did not get enough, or because you're having to keep the Akali, you don't have enough gold to level here. Again, really minor, but I would probably play the Maokai over the Tahm Kench here. Just because Maokai offers that little bit of CC, and since he'll be taking direct focus, he has a good chance to get his ult off. Yeah, you take Nidalee pair. That's nice. Okay, you get a Warlord Nidalee, and that makes the spot a little awkward. Level here to go to Brawler. I probably don't take that in Italy, if I'm being honest. Maybe if I had like another Warlord to play immediately, but I think the loss in tempo that you take significant. So far everything's looked good. Probably about exactly what I'd do. Hmm. I do think the two Brawlers is stronger. I don't know if I would have picked up the Nunu here. Because this sort of, I don't think it offers a ton of value. Uh, just because it's sort of, it's 2 gold more than Tom Kench, and I don't think it does that much more than Tom Kench, but I don't think it's a huge deal. Because what I'm probably doing here is pre-leveling regardless. Okay, so you take a narrow win there. I think the Nunu there is actually fine. Mainly because you have the belt to keep him over. So I probably take the cloak there. For the extra 1 gold. Because I think it plays a little better with blue buff items. I think making... Okay, you get an Assassin Diana. I think at this point you have to play that for Forsen. Yeah. I would not make the Sunfire Cape here. It doesn't look like you do either. Oh, you do. Okay. I don't think that's the worst play. I think it's nice because you're on the 3 streak. I really don't value Sunfire Cape too high as an item, especially since you have plenty of damage with 4 Assassin. I think you can afford to greed that a little more. Because you have a blue buff Akali with 4 Assassin. This is so much damage. I think you can afford to greed those items because that could really give you something that you might have needed more. If your Krugs end up having like a bow or something, I think it is a little better because you could have gotten like a ZZ Rot, which would sort of make up for your lack of frontline that you're going to end up having throughout the stage 3. Definitely keep Akali there because it meshes with your Forsen. Yeah, I don't think Sunfire Cape Slam is going to be too hurtful. It does look like you would have won these rounds without it, though. And generally, I do like slamming items when you're win streaking. I just don't think Sunfire Cape offers too much value, and you just might value Sunfire Cape a little more highly than I do. I feel like there's so many components that you can get to the, or so many items that you need belt and chain components for, like GA, Morello, ZZ Rot, that you can just get better value. out of. I do like this change, changing out during Krugs to free up because you're holding a Assassin Diana. You do make your board a bit weaker, but I think you're strong enough since you slammed the Sunfire Cape to sort of wait on it. And this also gives you better synergies with your Warwick. So I like this. Okay, so yeah. See, you could have had a ZZ Rot and then still had your chain. And I think that would have helped a little more because I value ZZ Rot really, really highly in this meta. Because let me pause. So because of Adept, because you end up playing those like Adept late game front lines, you end up with a much weaker front line in order to get that utility value. So ZZ Rot really helps make up for that in the late game because it's basically like having an extra unit in your front line. And when your front line ends up being something like Thresh Aurelia, Shin Aurelia and Yone, or sometimes like Shin Aurelia, Yone, and Warwick. And even through through stage 4, it could literally just end up being Shin and Aurelia. That ZZ Rot value really, really helps. But so far, really the only thing I've seen that could have been played out better from here at the moment is just that ZZ Rot value. Because I don't really think you needed the Sunfire Cape there, but again, belts aren't too hard to pick up, so you might be able to do something with it. You did get a glove off your creep round, which is pretty good. It's going to give you some better itemization options. So far, you're on a 6 streak. That's really, really good. You rolled there, which is probably something that I might not have done. I think you were just trying to hit something to strengthen out your board. I think in this spot, it's important to note that you should be scouting the lobby and sort of identifying your position, seeing how strong you are. And I might not have leveled there. I might have greeted it a little more, seeing I was on a 6 streak, and waited to see how this round went. Just because you only have one leveled unit on this board, but it is a pretty strong board. I'm not really going to fault that at all, because there's different ways to play a win streak out. And you do end up winning that round, so you get to 50 after this round. Pretty decent. You did hit the Silas too, though, so it wasn't really punished at all for that one roll. So far, there's nothing significant, though, that I would have really played differently this game. So I think we're definitely going to have a situation where the late game has a big impact, which is a pretty varied difference from some of the Diamond and Master VOD reviews I've done. Is they had a lot of stuff that I would have done differently early game, but pretty much stuck to most things I would have done. So here you have the glove and the bow. I'm probably going for belt here to make a ZZ Rot. Yeah, that was assuming the glove is gone. If the glove's still there, I might take it. You get the belt. I'm assuming you make ZZ Rot here, which really helps out your front line a lot. I need to reset this. Go 7. Make the ZZ Rot. I like this. This is good. Your chosen being locked is pretty unfortunate. Or unlocked. Because having a chosen here to really guarantee this streak into wolves would be nice, but definitely correct to go 7 there since your chosen is still locked. You need to be maximizing the value of pushing this 10 streak into wolves. Okay, you hit a Divine Warwick. First roll. Definitely taking that, putting that in. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's fine. Yeah, because you fit 4 Divine there. It is unfortunate that that's a Divine Warwick instead of a Brawler or Hunter. I think if that was a Hunter Warwick, you are literally on your way to a free first place. Obviously, okay, you hit Ash here. So far, this has been a very, very high roll game. So the fact that you bought for this leads me to believe that somewhere between now and the late game, you end up rolling too much when you're strong. Because at this point, you're 100 HP going into stage 4. You can literally econ through most of stage 4. I'm worried that's what's gonna happen here is you get another tier, which is I guess okay because you can make Hodge, but it's not great because you already get a tier. Okay, you roll a bit here. You hit the Ash too. That's actually pretty lucky. I would definitely call this game pretty high roll from here. You have an incredibly strong board going into 4-1 on a win streak. I'm not a big fan of this positioning. I think your Ashe is too vulnerable on that row. I think she needs to be in the very back. Because here she can get hit by stuff like Aurelia and Cassiopeia. Yeah, you take a very close loss here. Because you hit the... It's because this guy hit the Yasuo 3. Hit a Lux as well. But yeah, so just to... The way that I'm positioning this is very basic. And I think you might be overcomplicating it. Because in other... definitely in set 3 and 3.5, this sort of like quirky positioning is what you needed to do. But I think here you really just do like a very basic Ashe corner, Kindred beside, Yuumi there. And then like scout the lobby, look for where like talons are, or anything that's going to kill your Ashe or stun her, and just flip sides from it. But I think it's taking too long for your Aurelia and Shin to get to the front line and start building up mana to get their ults off. Because those are Aurelia, especially in through this mid game. She has a pretty valuable ult with that stun. It just slows down the fight. And also, I do think it helps if you're Kindred and... Okay, so she's a little closer to Ashe now. But I do like them beside each other because I like them to be focusing the same frontline target to just get them down. You're taking some nice wins, and more importantly, during stage 4, you're hitting people for a lot of damage, which is good. Getting people through it, getting people down early like that is usually pretty good because getting the stage 4 damage sort of ensures that those like really long stage 6 games where like I've had games where I go out on like after stage 6 carousel and it's still a 5th or a 6th, and it sort of helps make that not happen. I think I might have taken Chain there. I don't think... Because you already got a glove, and you want a defensive item on your Ashe. You already got the glove, so you're not likely to get another glove. So QSS probably isn't happening. But you have not gotten a sword yet, so Chain makes it pretty likely that you can get a GA onto her. Talon bugged out there. It was pretty convenient. Boss. This guy looks incredibly strong because he rolled down a lot during 7. That's just kind of a byproduct of this meta, is people end up really strong because they're donkey rolling every turn on 7 till they hit. Also, this isn't the biggest deal, and it might just be something that you like to do. Every game at the beginning, I do /mute all, and I don't really talk in chat at all. I found it helped. I started doing it in set 3, because it just distracted me. I was paying less attention to my positioning, and like the results, it's not a huge difference, but you know, in the end, every bit counts, and it ended up when I hit like my peak of like 1100 LP, it came after that, and before that I was stuck around like 700 or 800 LP, and it's always just been better, mostly because like people will spam ping you, people will ping in general, and it can just kind of tilt you, and you roll differently when you're tilted. And I mean, if you're playing for fun, obviously this isn't your main, so you might just be in more of a fun mood. Obviously, it takes a little fun out when you can't just interact throughout the game. That's just something I do. Pretty unfortunate that Ash walked forward there. But this guy is best in slot Z, which I think is always going to beat you without a GA. Unless you like frontline. You end up 72 HP going into your Raptors. Not the best situation. You do not get a natural BF sword throughout the entire course of this game, which in this meta is a killer. However, here's what I am going to say that. Okay, you made Gargoyle Stoneplate there, and I think Bramble Vest definitely would have been better. So, biggest takeaway so far that I've seen is just the fact that that item choice, I don't think it's a huge deal, but chains are really nice in this meta because GA and Bramble counter Talon a bit. So that's one big takeaway that I'll say. I do think leveling here doesn't cost you too much. This might be a little greedy. It's 1 gold to put in an extra unit. I might even have rolled down here, honestly. That ends up being nice damage. I probably would have leveled and actually rolled down to like 30 or so gold just to get some upgrades. Because you're playing a level 1 Yuumi, a level 1 Kindred, a level 1 Aurelia, and a level 1 Shen on 5-1. And you have the gold to get a better board. And everyone else in the lobby is going to be rolling down here. So I think this is a little greedy. I think you might still be in the mentality of you opened with a 10 win streak. So you're in a good spot. But realistically, you are 28 HP above 6th place. That's 2 rounds. This is like you can identify from this spot that you're definitely not safe. And you do roll here, you get those upgrades. So that ends up being like a 9 HP difference. I would still keep that Kindred in. I do not think I would have played Ezreal over the Yuumi. Find 2 Kanes. Okay, yeah, this is... So you said this in your note, that Kayn was a mistake, and I'm gonna agree from this spot for sure. This is the biggest mistake so far, because I know you put in this Kayn, and it's 5-2 right now. You're 63 HP. Even if you're 100 HP here, I don't think this is... Maybe, because you have good Kayn items. You have blue and decap. But with 63 HP, Kayn is going to take 3 rounds to become a unit. And even though the items for him fit, and I really like playing Kayn when you end up getting those mana, or those like mage items in Ashe comps, because they transition really well from Kindred onto Kayn to scale. But it is too late at 5-2 to put a Kayn into your comp. Definitely too late. I would never put him in, probably, if you're high HP, I would never put him in later than, like, if you hit him during Raptors so that he gets that Raptors round to scale up. And if you're low HP, I would never put him in later than after Stage 4 Carousel. He ends up going in now. Also, again, this positioning, not my favorite. You end up with a pretty strong board at the moment, but this cane is just going to take way too long to scale up, and that's a problem. But yeah, now you're 28 HP. So through those 2 rounds, you actually end up lower HP than that 6th place guy was. That's important. You went from 63 to 28 in 2 rounds. Or sorry, 3 rounds. Or no, that was 2. Was it 2 rounds? I'll check after. Yeah, because you went in 72 HP to your Raptors. So you end up 72 to 28 in 3 rounds. And I'm gonna mostly attribute that to the fact that you should have went 8 and rolled down at 5-1 to guarantee the top 4, because it seems like you're trying to greed for a first, and you can't do that when you're playing an Ash comp without a BF sword. You need to identify that in this spot, this game is this game becomes a play for top 4 there, even though you opened with that 10 win streak. And it really sucks that this meta is this way, because you're so item dependent when you're win streaking. And BF sword is so valuable at the moment. You end up rolling down here. I do think with how many Warwicks you saw that I would have probably picked up a Warwick 2, cut the Warwick, and tried to roll for a better Chosen. But it does take a lot of time to do that, but you had so much gold. Okay, so you beat this guy. And now your Kane gets to become a real unit. But the big problem here is you don't have a GA on him, so Talon is still going to one-shot this Kane. So both of your carries are very, very Talon vulnerable. Oh, wait, sorry. You put in the Kane on... I forgot you had the Kane on the bench that round. You don't have Giant Slayer for the Duelist guy, so it probably becomes a pretty difficult fight as well. Also, I think this Ashe positioning is pretty vulnerable. It's actually unlucky that you get the GA here after your Kane is fully itemized, because that would have been really nice on Kane. So the game's almost over, and the biggest thing I'm going to say here is that you did not invest enough into your board through stage 5. I think I rolled down there, and whether I hit like Vanguards or level up my Shin or whatever, I'm putting in leveled units, because running you didn't hit most of these upgrades till late stage 5, and this is just too weak of a board to be fielding. You went 72 to 19 with the econ to upgrade your board. It's like, yeah, that's a pretty bad loss. But yeah, you end up dying 6-1, and I think you have to be ready for that. Because yeah, you didn't kill anything here. What does this guy have? He has a lot of synergies in. But yeah, you end up not killing anything there, which is part of just one of the downsides of this meta, is that people's late game boards are so high roll that sometimes you don't kill any units. But it does seem like you were a little tilted by that, but I don't think you were really stronger than anyone in the lobby. So all I'm gonna say is the biggest thing there is just it was way too greedy through stage 5. You need to identify that you have suboptimal items for the comp that you're playing, and you need to roll more through stage 5 to try to maximize your HP going into stage 6. You need to be conserving as much HP as possible because the damage late game scales so much harder that and Aegon is one of the biggest like proponents against this. Late game damage is just way too high compared to early game damage, so you do not get rewarded enough for playing a strong early game. So no matter how well you play that, you can't afford to greed and try to get a first, especially in that itemization position. And it can actually be more punishing sometimes in terms of being denied a first. But I think you pretty easily could have turned this into a fifth or sixth, or sorry, a second or third position, maybe just settle for a fourth. But I think there was definitely a way to avoid taking a negative LP loss here, just playing that, because you died with 57 gold. Obviously you thought you were going to live another round, but I do think it was just too greedy for your items. If you had like best in slot Ash or close to best in slot Ash, it would have been fine, but until you hit your rift, you had a single item Ash with a Kayn carry. And anytime I'm playing Kayn, most of the time I'm realizing that I'm playing for top 4, unless I have like a Dust Kayn or something. And there are games where I'll just throw a random Kayn 2 in my comp if I hit it. But yeah, I'll say that's the biggest thing. It's hard because like I feel like you played so well, even up to like through stage 4, and you got so punished for stage 5. But you played that. But again, when you play at like a much higher level, it is all those little things that add up. But yeah, I think it's important to identify those high roll games in terms of your items and high roll games in terms of your units. And I think you high rolled the units, but you have to high roll both most of the time in order to get first. And when you only high roll one of the two, you need to realize that that game becomes a play for top 4, because your board can be strong enough to beat everyone else's, but it might not be, or like even to take close losses, but without the items, it's not gonna, someone's always gonna have like best in slot items. And it looks like in this lobby there were a couple people, and that's where your HP gap at the beginning of the game comes in, and you just play off of your units. But that's all I'll say for this one. It would have been nice to see a game where you didn't high roll the early game so much and then didn't high roll your 4-1 as much. Because it's a lot easier to notice like specific things, because here it's just verse 5-1. Here it's just noting that you should have rolled here because you ended up going into This is too weak of a board to go into stage 5 with. This was a strong board at 4-1, but you go into 5-1 with this board, and that is... Obviously, you can't play a board that's strong a stage later, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You end up playing... Effectively, you should have been level 8, so you end up playing 4 level 1 units, and then you don't have a unit that you should have. I think that just greeting this is only 1 gold that you're greeting here. I mean, technically, you know, we'll call it 5 because you have to spend an extra 4 to level, and then you miss the 1 interest. But realistically, you should have rolled here. Those are the biggest things I'll say. I think it was just too greedy for your position, and then obviously the super delayed cane hurt as well, because that didn't end up getting upgraded until your creep round. But yeah, so that's all I've got for this one. I hope this helped you. If it helped anyone else, feel free to check out my description box down below to see any of my other social medias. But yeah, thanks for watching.